Hey, what's going on? I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching Sit Down. Crystal Moselle here with us. Betty, coming to HBO May 1st. How are you, Crystal?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's really nice to talk to you, and I really enjoyed checking out the show. And it's a really fascinating world in terms of skateboarding in general, and then, of course, women in skateboarding. But you've kind of been in this world for a while now with the movie you did and now the show. So what piques your interest the most about this skating space and the women that are in there?
Yeah, I was originally drawn to the women as characters. I saw them on the train and they intrigued me. And I was originally going to do a documentary, but then I got an opportunity to make a short film. And I think that, one of the things, like when I first met with them, they're telling me how intimidating it can be for women to walk into a skate park. And I think that could be said for many different professions and I would say it's like a microcosm for many bigger things, including directing.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt them, and I was inspired by their love for women and how much space that they were giving women. And for me, when I came to New York, it was incredibly competitive, and there wasn't really open space for us. So yeah.
And New York plays a really important factor in all of this. So when you think about New York, the environment that it creates for skateboarding, what are some of the most important things about New York as a backdrop for this world?
I mean, for me, before I met these girls, I was ready to leave New York. I wasn't inspired anymore. When I met them, I realized that they saw New York in a completely different way. And so when anybody says like, "Oh, New York's dead," New York, whatever, I'm always like, you don't like hang out with enough teenagers, because they will show you a side to New York that you've never seen before. And especially these women, I mean, the way that they look at architecture, the way that they're down low on the streets and the asphalt and the way that things flow, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, their vantage point of New York City is so different from any of us, because it's like, yeah, we're on those subways and walking through, but just like the low angles, and I'm sure you guys were hitting on that. So what was it like to unpack that a little bit more, where it's like you're seeing things that you may walk by every single day, but you really don't focus on like these skateboarders do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more meditative the way that they see the city, and when we're walking around, they're like, oh, look at that, like, weird, like, grate over that thing over there. And I'm like, what are you talking about? But, as I know them more, I see it as well. And I think it's just kind of a different point of view, and it's more precious, I think.
What was the biggest challenge of turning this into a TV show? I mean, you have the 6-episode runway, but what were some of the hurdles you had to overcome?
Oh, I have to say that it was a really great experience for me. It didn't feel like it was challenging. It was cool to enter this new space where you're in a writer's room and there's so many ideas and points of view, and I learned a lot from it. So for me, it was actually taking a step up. It didn't feel challenging, and HBO was so open to my artistic point of view, and I don't know. I actually felt a lot of freedom making this TV show.
That's really great. So how long had you been in New York before you were like, I'm kind of done with this, and then you meet the kids? Like, what was that journey looking like for you at that point in your life?
Well, I am now on my 22nd year in New York City. Yeah, I moved here when I was 18, and I mean, there's a certain point where just things start to get stale, and I think it was like I met the girls 4 years ago, and I was ready to leave, and I just started to see New York from a different point of view. And I think the city is really a character in the show, and people get to see this side of New York that they've never seen before.
What else is interesting to you about the girls? Because you mentioned it's like a microcosm for all these different industries, directing, sports, you name it. But what else piques your interest about just the way that they carry themselves, the generation that they were born in, just, you know, little factoids like that. What really gets you going when you think about that?
Yeah, I think that what's really fascinating about their generation is that they are not mean girls. That's, I mean, in the simplest terms, they really open space for girls, and you know, I immediately saw that about them, and just like at the skate park